Hi guys, and welcome back to my Evilness podcast. And happy Easter. It's the Easter long weekend and I have a appropriate case for this weekend, and if you don't celebrate Easter, well, just happy Monday to you. So today's case is known as the Easter Sunday Massacre of 1975. And on this day, James Ruppert killed 11 of his family members in an act of familiarcide, which is killing family members, or sort of homicide within the family. Throughout his childhood, James's mother, Charity, had expressed that she wished that James had been a girl. His father was not very affectionate, and he died when James was 12. His older brother Leonard, who was only 14 himself, stepped up as a kind of father figure to his siblings, but it was also reported that he picked on James a lot, which, that's siblings. But their mum usually took Leo's side, which continued into adulthood. People often compared the brothers. I guess James always sort of felt like he was in his brother Leonard's shadow. James was 5'5", 135 pounds. His brother Leonard was taller, fitter, more successful. At 16, James did try to commit suicide after running away. He attempted to hang himself with some sheets. Obviously, this attempt was unsuccessful. James did not finish college, he couldn't maintain a steady relationship, not that he dated much, and he still lived at his mum's house in Hamilton, Ohio. In 1975, James found himself jobless. His mother threatened to kick him out of the house as he owed her and his brother Leo money. James had lost the little money that he did have in the 1973-1974 stock market crash. James began to plan his massacre about a month prior to that fateful Easter Sunday, asking about different silences and doing target practice more often. On his 41st birthday, the 29th of March, which was the day before the killings, he went target shooting that night. Then, as he usually did, he went to a bar to drink. His mum had been riding him about this, saying that he could afford to go and drink every night, but he couldn't afford to pay her rent. And she had started eviction proceedings. The night of his birthday, he had complained about this to an employee at the bar, saying he needed to solve the problem. On Easter Sunday, the 30th of March 1975, at his mother's house in Hamilton, Leonard's wife Alma, who had once dated James, and their 8 children, Leonard 3, who was 17, Michael, who was 16, Thomas, who was 15, Carol, who was 13, Anne, who was 12, David, who was 11, Teresa, who was 9, and John, who was 4, had came to Charity's house to celebrate Easter. The children had an egg hunt, and then the family moved inside to enjoy a meal and relax into the evening. James didn't wake up until 4 p.m, but when he awoke, he loaded his 3 handguns and a rifle with bullets and then proceeded down to the kitchen where he found 42-year-old Leonard and shot him. Next, he shot Leonard's wife, Alma, who was 38 years old at the time. Next, James shot his mother, Charity, who was 65 years old. Also in the kitchen were some of Leonard's children, David, Teresa, and Carol. And it would be assumed that he killed them in there as well. Next, he made his way into the living room where he killed the rest of his nieces and nephews, Leonard 3, Michael, Thomas, Anne, and John. Police commented that there wasn't much sign of a struggle, which is strange. Perhaps James could have drugged them or something, like for 11 people to be murdered and there's no sign of a struggle. Just seems odd. Anyhow, after 3 hours, James called the police and waited for them to arrive inside of the doorway. James had fired 35 rounds, but he didn't use his rifle. Initially, a mistrial was declared. Hamilton people thought that it was too close to home for a fair trial, so they moved it 125 miles north to Findlay, Ohio. James was sentenced to 11 life sentences, but this was appealed, his defense attorney claiming he was insane and should get another trial. In 1982, this new trial was granted in front of 3 panel judges who found James Ruppert guilty of first-degree murder for the killing of his mother Charity and his brother Leonard. However, he was found not guilty of the other 9 people's deaths for reasons of insanity. James was sentenced to 2 life sentences for the murders that he was found guilty of. However, this did include the possibility of parole. I should also make a mention that capital punishment was suspended between 1972 and 1976. So with this happening in 1975, there was no chance that he would get the death penalty, basically. In June of 1995, his first parole hearing was denied. In April 2015, another parole hearing was again denied, and basically he will be due for his next appeal or parole hearing around April 2025. And James Ruppert will be 91 years old at that time, so he may not even make it to then. But that is all for today's podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll try and get another one done really soon. Bye.